Yo, good morning. Lovely day yet again. Absolutely loving the weather at this moment in time, I must admit. Very peaceful getting out on a morning, getting your steps in, taking in some fresh air and taking in the world before you start the craziness of the day. Highly recommend it. So yeah, posted in the group yesterday that I was going to do a live video on anxiety. I had to coach a few people over this weekend who said that they'd been struggling with it. Whatever is bothering them in their life, anxious thoughts, anxious feelings, the whole situation that's going on. I get it 100%. I get it. 2-3 years ago when I was struggling with anxiety and a few things, this period right now would have really messed me up, because there's not a lot to distract your attention on if you don't have things to focus on in your life. And that's the problem, and that's exactly what I said to the people who I got on the phone with this weekend during check-ins and talked about anxiety with them. I said, it's where your attention's at. There's two things you have to go over when you want to actually know about anxiety and what it is, how it's caused. And it's a natural human instinct. It's a natural human reaction. It's your fight or flight response that you have in the face of danger. And they've done studies on anxiety, and it shows the same centers of the brain lighting up through fear. So it's your fight or flight response. So you have to, if you want to start understanding anxiety and where it's coming from and how it's created, you have to know first of all the physiology and how it's created. So I'll just do a little bit on that. Like I said before, the studies show that when you experience anxiety, it's just a surge of adrenaline. A similar feeling that you'd get if you were like under attack, if you were running away from an animal. That's where the primal instinct comes from. So when you get feelings of anxiety, it's completely normal. The only difference is why it freaks us out and why it scares a lot of people and why it's an uncomfortable feeling is because you get that fight or flight response when there is no danger. So if you were walking down the street and a car was about to run you over, you would get a surge of adrenaline, your heart rate would speed up, your breathing would probably speed up, you'd feel a little bit shaky and anxious, or if someone was attacking you or anything, anything that scared you. But after the adrenaline happened, the surge of adrenaline, the beating heart, the fast heart rate, the breathing, you would realise that the danger was gone and it will come down naturally. Whereas when you have anxiety, when you have anxious thoughts, you create that feeling without any danger being there, and that's what scares people. That's what scares people. And I don't know if anyone watching or anyone listening who's had like panic attacks. I have, and at the time you think you're dying. You don't know what's going on. Your heart's 150 miles an hour. Your breathing's going to shit. You can't catch your breath. Your thoughts are racing. You can't sit still. You get a bit sweaty, a bit clammy. It's like, what the fuck am I feeling like this for? And you freak out. And in the end you can become anxious just about being anxious. You know what I mean? It's like this vicious cycle of any time you feel like that, you don't know how it's created and don't know where it's coming from, and you lose your shit. A lot of people have that. A lot of people feel like that. And that's what scares you. Like I said, there is no physical danger in front of you, yet you're still getting the fear centers lighting up in your brain. And that's a victim. We are a victim of our own evolution. We have very powerful brains. Look what we've created as a species, and I don't know how long humans have been around, but look what we've created. I'm gonna walk back this way. Look what we've created in only a few 100,000 years. I'm talking to you on a fucking iPhone right now. You know what I mean? That's getting put up in space on a signal and put back down onto your phone. It's fucking amazing. We are very, very creative beings. What we can achieve is amazing. Our brains are, the most powerful thing that's ever existed in terms of on this planet, in terms of actual evolution. We are clever. We have deep emotions. We have deep personalities that a lot of other animals don't have. But having said that, we've almost outgrew our bodies in a sense of from an academic standpoint. So we often create feelings that aren't really real, and that's anxiety is one of them. So it's almost we're like a victim of our own evolution, and we can trick ourselves to feel a certain way that doesn't necessarily exist in the flesh, doesn't necessarily exist in reality, and that's why humans struggle with mental health, because we have these thoughts that we can make so powerful, make feel so powerful that doesn't necessarily exist. So that's the background on anxiety and how it's created. It's fight or flight. It's adrenaline, the surge of adrenaline that makes you feel uneasy, that makes you feel on edge, that makes you feel anxious. When there's no physical danger, it's just created through through your thoughts and wherever you're at the time, which is strange. It's hard to get your head around. But once you do get your head around that, at least you know where it's coming from. So that's basically where anxiety comes from. It's fight or flight. It's lighting up the same responses as fear in your brain, but there is no physical danger. It'll be caused off your racing thoughts, or maybe a situation you're thinking about or overthinking. That's how it'll be created. So there's not necessarily anything dangerous going on. You just feel anxious because of whatever reason. And this is the thing. That's why it scares people so much. So yeah, that's basically the background on anxiety. There's two things you have to look at when you're talking about anxiety, and you probably hear me refer to this all the time, or you see it all the time. Your state. What you mean by your state is not necessarily your mental state. It's more your state, your physical state, your physiology. So where's your physiology at? Your health, your fitness, your energy, and then where's your attention at? Where's your focus? Those two things are critical for managing anxiety. If your energy's to shit, if you're not exercising, if your physiology shit, if you're overweight, if you're eating unhealthy foods, and then you're focusing on unhealthy thoughts, you're focusing on things that stress you out, you've got situations in life you're not dealing with, you're not focusing on things that inspire you, you are focusing on things that make you feel shit. Combine the two together, you've got anxiety. That's how it's created. And this is the thing, a lot of people get triggered when you say anxiety is created, because it is. It's not a disease. You don't walk along the street and someone sneezes and you get anxiety off them. It's not the way it is. It's an emotion, and it's a state. And a state means that you can change it. It means you can change it very fast. It's not permanent. You don't wake up in the morning and feel motivated every day. You don't wake up in the morning and feel happy every day. You don't feel sad every day. Your emotions change based off what you're experiencing and what you're feeling at the time. So you haven't got anxiety. It's not your personality trait, you are just experiencing it. So that's the first thing you need to understand. If you do have anxiety, you don't own it. It's not yours. It's not your personality. It's not your identity. You're just experiencing it. Just like when you experience happiness, you experience sadness, you experience motivation, you experience joy, pleasure. They're all emotions. So anxiety is emotion. It's a state. You have to understand. You have to understand what it is. If you want to get your head around it, and you want to get a handle on it and make you feel better and live a better life, you have to understand what it is. So let's not put it on a pedestal and say it's this like crazy new thing. It's not. It's an emotion that humans have had for hundreds of years, thousands of years. We've just never really labelled it the way we have now. And I think when people put it up there on a pedestal, it doesn't help people, because they make it seem like it's like a personality trait. Like I said, it's not. It's an experience of an emotion that you're currently experiencing, and you can change that. I used to be crippled with it. Literally, it used to ruin my life. Couldn't sleep, didn't want to go out of the house, affected everything. But now I'm fine, because I've got my head around it and I've put physical things in place. Now I'm okay, So that just shows you right now. I'm going to say that if anyone's struggling with anxiety, if you think you can't get your head around it, trust me, you can. You can. You just need to know how. You need to know the strategy. I mentioned that word before, strategy. Everything's got a strategy. Every emotion you feel, there's a strategy that's creating it. And this is the thing with anxiety, right? I mentioned before, humans are very, very clever. We are very creative beings, okay? What I mean by that, we can create wonderful things. And our bodies are a wonderful machine. They work in a wonderful way. So anxiety, right? Think of it like this. Think of it as an alarm bell, a warning bell that something's not right. It means there's something in your life that's not right. You're focusing on something that doesn't serve you, and it's an alarm bell. It's your body's security of telling you that something's not right. You know what I mean? So you have to think of it like that. You don't get anxiety for no reason. You don't get anxiety by accident. It's because something is not working for you. Whether that's a thought, whether that's a situation you're in, whether that's health-wise, physiology-wise, whether that's if you're doing something that you know is not good for you. Stressful thoughts, overthinking, they can create anxiety. And it might come out of nowhere, but it means that there's something that's not working for you, okay? You don't get anxiety for no reason. You don't get anxiety by accident. So you have to look at that. So if you're questioning where it's coming from, you really need to think, what is stressing you out right now? What is causing you to feel anxious? What is not working for you? And I'm just going to say one thing. When I had anxiety, or when it started, I used to go out from the age of 16 to 21, probably 20, maybe 4 or 5 years, getting pissed, full of drugs every weekend. So that's just one thing I'm going to say. Right? I know a lot of people who are quite close to me, who've struggled with anxiety, they go out on the session every weekend. Like, come on. Like, I feel for you, right? I'm a very empathetic human, and I listen to everyone's things that bother them and upset them, and I'm very understanding. But that's one thing that I'll just say. If you've got anxiety and you're putting shit up your nose every weekend and you're drinking every weekend, come on, have a think about it. You know, you need to address that. So first of all, what's stressing you out in your life? What's causing you to think thoughts that make you feel like that? And you can change that. You know, you don't have to feel those thoughts. You don't have to experience those thoughts. What are you putting in your body? How's your nutrition? Are you exercising? Well, that's the first thing doctors will tell you if you've got anxiety. What's your exercise like? And if you're not exercising, that could be a big problem there. Natural endorphins you need to release. You need to create that physiological state to be able to deal with anxiety. If your energy's to shit, if you're not exercising, you're going out every weekend, lowering your state, putting stimulants in your body, how can you get your physiology on a standpoint to be able to deal with anxiety? You can't. So there has to be a few things that you have to do personally to be able to deal with it. So you have to look at what issues are causing you to feel like that. What are you overthinking about? What's stressing you out? What's making you feel upset? And have a think about what you can control. Can you control the controllable? Can you control the situation? If yes, change it. Otherwise, you'll constantly have anxious thoughts. If you can't control the situation, you don't need to burden yourself with that thought, you know. If you can't change the situation, you need to put your attention on other things. So, and this is how I ended up kind of beating anxiety. There's one thing I'm going to tell you. I think I mentioned this before. There's someone who's very clued up in the academic world about anxiety and human behaviour, called Jordan Peterson. I know a few of you might have read his book, 12 Rules for Life. I haven't personally read it, but I've seen a lot of his videos, and this is what changed the game for me in terms of anxiety. About two years ago, you know, I was crippled with it, like I said, and I watched this video on YouTube, you know, about anxiety, and this Jordan Peterson is like an academic, a psychologist from Canada, something like that. He's been on the Joe Rogan podcast and a few things. Very, very clever bloke, very smart bloke. And he mentioned something about anxiety which really resonated with me. And this kick-started my whole personal development game. You know, and 2 years later, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I've achieved a lot, you know, in 2 years. And this all started from this. He talked about anxiety and what it is and how it's created and why people have it. And he mentioned something that resonated with me. And I hope it resonates with you. Anxiety, right, affects people with a higher creative intellect. Just like what I said before, humans are very, very creative beings. We often create feelings and emotions that don't necessarily exist. They shouldn't exist, but they do. That shows us that we are powerful. If we can create an emotion like anxiety, which is literally created from within through our thoughts and our physiology when there's actually no danger in front of you, that's powerful. It's like your brain's way of tricking your body, tricking your physiology to feel something so powerful. And if anyone has suffered with bad anxiety and panic attacks, like 1 second you can be completely fine and all of a sudden you're gone. You know, you're in full panic attack mode, full anxiety attack, and it comes out of nowhere. That's fucking powerful. You know, and so when he said anxiety affects people with a high creative intellect, that made me think, if I can create that, what else can I create? You know, I must have a talent here. So if you've got anxiety, you often have anxious thoughts. You're a creative person, man. You're not like the normal person. You've got something in you. You've got something special. You know, it's just not being used for the right things. And that's the way this bloke explained it. And I thought, wow, maybe he's right, you know. And I looked at my own life. What am I actually doing that inspires me? Nothing. I was doing nothing. I was sitting moping about, complaining how the world wasn't fair and how I was hard done by and how I should have had a job and how I should have had this and should have had that. I was doing nothing with my life. I was moping about, abusing my body, complaining about it, and then said, poor me, I've got anxiety, you know. So I'm not saying that's your guys' case, that's personal to me, but I know so many people who have similar lives. You know, when he said, when you are not focusing on things that inspire you, when you are a creative person and you are not focusing on things that inspire you, you create problems for yourself, you create anxiety. That creative streak that you have, right, it's not going to disappear if you're not focusing on things that are inspiring to you. It's not going to disappear. It's still there. What it is going to do is create things that do the opposite to inspire you, create things that scare you, and that's where this overthinking comes in. Those people might be watching right now. Some people might have those thoughts where you can't switch off, you can't stop, you're overthinking, 100 thoughts, million miles an hour, you can't control it. That's that creative streak, that problem solving. Your mind's trying to solve these problems that don't necessarily exist. You know, because you're a creative person, you're not focused on things that inspire you. So you just start focusing on things that don't inspire you. You start trying to solve problems. You try to be creative. You create something that makes you feel so bad, you know, and it's a hard one to get your head around. But once I heard this, I thought, well, maybe I am creating problems for myself. What am I doing in my life that's not good? And I kind of asked myself powerful questions, realised there was a lot of things I was doing that wasn't good. I wasn't serving myself. I was focusing on the wrong things. My attention was on things that didn't inspire me. You know, so that's basically how anxiety is created. And once you know that, once you realise, shit, maybe it's trying to tell us something. Maybe it's your brain's alarm bell telling you something's not working. Maybe it's your mind's way, your subconscious's way of telling you that you need to change something. Maybe it's your mind's way of telling you that you do not deserve to feel like this and you need to do something about it. But if you don't do anything about it, if you don't deal with whatever's stressing you out, if you don't deal with whatever's making you feel anxious, or if you don't get a handle on your state and your physiology, you'll continue to have it, you know. It's like having anxiety, right? It's like a burglar alarm going off in your house and then just ignoring it. It's like, oh, we're under attack, so what though? It's just anxiety. Does that not tell you something? Like if you're experiencing something as powerful as anxiety, okay, it means that you're focusing on something that's not serving you. You're focusing on something that's making you feel bad. And I'm not saying everyone who has anxiety is doing something bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that something's not working for you. There's something that's in your subconscious that's not making you feel good. And that's not meant to happen. You know, that's not meant to happen. And you can do something to change that. It might not be a situation you can control, but what you can control is your state, physiology and attention. So how to deal with anxiety, how to kind of manage it on a daily basis. And it's going to be hard at first, but once you do this and you experience it, it gives you confidence. You know, you get confidence from doing the work. It comes with your diet, comes with your training, comes with your job, comes with everything. You also get confidence in managing your anxiety when you do the work as well. So you probably only get this, right, but you only experience anxiety when you stop and think about it. I'm going to repeat that again. You only get anxiety when you stop and think about it. So that's when you stop doing what you're doing. You don't move. You don't think about anything else. You just stop and go, shit, I've got anxiety. Oh my God, these thoughts start unraveling in your head. You can't think your way out of an anxiety attack. That's the thing, right? That's how I used to go from feeling a little bit on edge to full-blown panic attack. I'd sit on the edge of my bed in the middle of the night, can't sleep, right? What the fuck? Stop thinking about this, Sam. I'm going to think about that instead. I'm going to think about this. I'm going to think about that. And all of a sudden, you can't stop thinking about the thing you don't want to think about. And that's how you bring on this attack. That's how you start feeling anxious. So if you feel anxious, right, you need to instantly, and I mean instantly, distract yourself. Instantly. Now, it might seem like a bit of from someone who maybe doesn't quite get this yet, just saying simply, oh, don't think about it. You might think, fuck off, because that's exactly what I heard. That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought when I heard that. When I heard someone say, oh, you only get anxiety when you stop and think about it, I was like, well, fuck off, no shit. But I didn't realise how powerful attention was and how powerful where your attention is at and how that can make you feel. So I learned that you can't think your way out of anxiety. You can't think your way out of anything. You can only do. Same goes for depression. You can't think your way out of depression. You've got to physically do something. So that means distract your attention. If you're literally focusing on things that make you anxious and you're overthinking and your thoughts are unraveling, you're not going to unravel them by thinking, are you? You have to physically do something. And I know people like to joke on that like a multitask, but trust me, you cannot be anxious and focusing on something that inspires you at the same time. It's impossible. It's impossible. Now I know I get it. A lot of people are thinking, well, how can I focus on things that inspire me when I'm experiencing this anxiety? It's horrible. And I know, I get it completely. But that's literally your biggest weapon. Your biggest weapon to be able to fight anxiety at the time is your attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. I've said that many, many times, and it's so true. Where attention goes, energy flows. You have to understand that. So if you're experiencing anxiety, your attention is on, oh my God, I feel like this, oh my God, this thought, oh my God. And that's how you create the feeling. You have to stop doing that, instantly move, do something, change your state, exercise, read, talk to someone. Big one for me, and I know a lot of people, this works for. In fact, a lad messaged me on Instagram the other day. I'm not even working with him. I don't even know who he is. And he said, Sam, I've seen your podcast with Kieran. By the way, if you haven't seen that episode, it's on YouTube and I posted it in here a few times. It's got over 1,000 views now. People loved it. We went in depth a lot about anxiety because me and him had both experienced that. So if you haven't watched that, I'll tell you what, I'll repost it in the group later. If you haven't watched that, give it a watch because I went very in depth on anxiety there. And this lad messages and said, oh, Sam, I've seen your podcast with Kieran and it really inspired us to want to reach out and get help. He said, I get panic attacks all the time. And I explained to him on the phone, I said, this is what it is. You know, it's your attention focusing on something that doesn't make you feel good. And you try and think your way out of it and you just create these feelings of anxiety, which create a full-blown panic attack. And I says, what you need to do, you're never going to think your way out of it. You have to instantly change your state. And I told him, I said, get yourself in a cold shower. I went, you cannot be in a cold shower fighting your breath and going, oh my God, how cold is it? And thinking about anxious thoughts at the same time. You can't do it. You cannot think about two things at the same time. Okay? You fuel your anxiety when you stop and think about it. So you might not be able to stop the anxiety at this moment in time. You might not be able to stop the situation, what's causing it. But what you can stop is where you're focusing on, what your focus is on. You can't do two things at the same time. It's impossible. Impossible. So you need to find a really good distraction. But you also need to remember that I mentioned before, anxiety affects people with a high creative intellect. High creative intellect. You've got something about you. You've got a bit of power. You've got some talent. You've got some knowledge. What are you using it on? Is it on things that serve you? Is it on things that inspire you? Or is it on things that do the opposite? So this is all personal to every single person. Everyone has things that bother them, okay? Everyone has things that they wish were different. Everyone has things that they wish they would like to change. Everything has things that they wish they would like to not have in their life, whether that's the way they look or, I don't know, a relationship they're in, the way they feel, a job, something like that, right? Don't know where the fuck I've gone here. Everyone has something that doesn't make them feel good, you know, and if there's something in your life that's really bothering you, yeah, that's causing your anxiety, you know. So if you have anxiety, right, and you're not happy about something within your life, the only way that's going to change is if you do something about it. So you have to look at it from a very subjective standpoint. If something doesn't work for you, if something's not working for you, whether it's the way you look, the way you feel, a job, a relationship, a thought that you keep having, if that's not serving you, then it's your responsibility to take charge and change that. Otherwise it's going to go around in circles. You know, and I would say it took me a good year to kind of figure out my own anxiety and how it's being created. But once I did that, you know how powerful it made us feel? The fact that I used to feel so shit, right? That now I'm just like, well, I know exactly how that's being created and I know exactly what I need to do to stop that. And I still have to do things daily which keep my anxiety at bay. A lot of people's anxiety comes from overwhelm. Now, when they're overwhelmed and they don't know this is what I had to coach a few people on the weekend. Overwhelming with jobs, Sam, I need to do this, Sam, I need to do that, I don't know what I need to do. All overwhelm is when you don't have your priorities in order. Of course you're going to feel anxious if you don't have your priorities in order. If you've got loads of things you need to do, loads of things you need to focus on, tackle little jobs here and there, little tasks, situations at work, situations in your life, if you haven't got a clear-cut plan of exactly how you're going to execute those problems, of course you're going to be fucking anxious. It's completely normal. It's completely normal because, like I said, as humans, we are very creative. We have a powerful brain. When we don't have control of things, when we don't feel like everything's in order, we feel overwhelmed. And all overwhelm is, the strategy for overwhelm is that you don't have your priorities in order. So if you feel overwhelmed, get very clear on your priorities. That's a lot of big thing with people who suffer with anxiety. They're not clear. I was not clear on what I needed to do in my life. What was I focusing on? What things inspire me? What things serve me? I didn't have anything. That's why the anxiety was happening. From a physiological standpoint, before, I'm going to mention it again, went out from the ages of about 16 to 20. Got full of it every weekend. You can't do that yourself, man. You can't do it. You're literally putting things in your body that are affecting your physiology in a negative way. Of course you're going to get anxiety. Of course you are. You know, so coffee as well. I had to cut coffee out for absolutely months. Doctor told me that. Don't have coffee. If you suffer with anxiety, stop drinking fucking coffees, man. You know, one of my mates, I'm not going to say any names, but he was telling me about, you know, suffering with anxiety. This is about a year ago. He was taking fucking pre-workouts at 9 o'clock at night, man, because he used to train at 10 after work. Like, come on. No wonder you feel anxious on a night time. You're wired to the moon, man. You're wired to the moon. So there is things that you can do to take responsibility for the way you feel. You know, so if you're putting things in your body that's not serving you, that's going to affect the anxiety. So first of all, lower that. Stop taking drugs. Stop drinking regularly. Stop the coffees all the time. Definitely don't take pre-workouts late at night. Where's your attention at? What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on things that inspire you? Are you focusing on things that serve you? Are you focusing on things that make you feel like crap? You know, because I'll say it again, you only experience stress and pain and suffering when you stop and think about it. When you stop and think about whatever's bothering you, that's when you get the emotion associated with it. So you know now, how am I creating that? Well, it's when I focus on that, when I stop and think about that. So you need to make sure that you're always doing something else. You're doing something else that inspires you. You're focusing on something else. Your attention's held. And when you hold your attention on things, you get confidence because you're aware of how you can change the way you feel. You're aware of how you can make yourself feel based off where your attention's at. You know, so you gain confidence, you gain more power, knowing that you can do that. And also, look at the situations within your life. What is causing it? I've said it before and I'll say it again. You're not anxious by accident. You don't create anxiety by accident. I don't care what anyone says. It's impossible. There's something that's not working. And it can be different for everyone. It could literally just be something, like it could be from childhood. I don't know. It could be a thought. It could be an experience. It could be a set of circumstances. It could be a lack of circumstances. I think with the lockdown right now, a lot of people are having anxiety because they've got nothing to do. You know what I mean? Like I said before, creative people, when they're not focusing on things that inspire them, that creative streak has to go somewhere. It's going to start creating problems that don't serve you. You know what I mean? If your attention isn't held. So a lot of people's anxieties during the lockdown is being caused by boredom. It's being caused by overthinking because the thoughts are not held with things that inspire them. You know, you have to start understanding where your anxious thoughts come from. And you know, I've mentioned before, I've spent a lot of money on my own personal development. It's well over. I've just dropped $2,000 on a course this week actually. Well over £5,000 that I've spent on personal development now. So I'm not just saying this from a book I've read. I'm saying this from personal experience. I'm saying this from a lot of research on human behaviour and strategies and how emotions are created, and also a lot of coaches who have invested in myself. So you know, I've got a very powerful set of knowledge on how anxiety is being created, and obviously that's how I'm able to help a lot of people. But yeah, anxiety, it's a very strange one. And it's something that can really affect your life in a negative way if you don't get a handle on it. It's horrible. It's really horrible. Like I said, it ruined my life for a while. But when I figured out where it was coming from, I figured out what it was from a physiological standpoint. Because, you know, like I said before, humans are very creative, but we're also our own worst enemy often, a lot of the times. We can make things seem a lot more real than they actually are. So sometimes if I was to give myself advice as a 16-year-old or whatever, my top advice from what I know now would be, don't necessarily believe every thought you have. Don't necessarily believe every thought you have. You know, they're just a thought. Thoughts are like clouds, they come and go. It's about how you package them up and how you give them meaning. So if you're having anxious thoughts, you're going to have anxious thoughts, but what can you do to fight that? You know, can you do something else? Can you put your attention on something else? Little simple things like distracting yourself, like reading a book, and you know, going for a cold shower. Like I said, cold shower is so powerful. If any one of you guys suffers with anxiety, right, and you are not taking cold showers, what are you doing? Honestly, cold shower is so powerful, so powerful. This is why, because when you are feeling anxious or you're having an anxiety attack, I often used to get very panicky. So rapid heart rate, breathing goes to shit. Very irritable, can't kind of sit still. If you go in a cold shower, right, that'll just make you feel so uncomfortable. It'll take your breath away. You'll be absolutely freezing and shivering and can't breathe. But trust us, you're not anxious anymore. Why? Because you've just changed your state. State is your physiology and your attention. Yeah, your attention and your focus. You've just changed that. Your focus has went from, oh my God, I'm having an anxiety attack, to, oh my God, I am fucking freezing in the shower. And then and then your physiology's went from being anxious and on edge to that fight or flight response. It's actually got something to do now. Your physiology's got something to do. It's been shocked from thinking, oh my God, I'm so anxious, to fuck me, I'm cold. You know what I mean? See where I'm coming from? It sounds cheesy, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who's listening to what I'm saying think, fuck off, Sam, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. Because that's exactly how I felt. A couple of years ago, if I was listening to me saying this, I would have said that. I would have said, fuck off, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know how I feel. It's not that. It's so much more powerful than you're making out. But all I'm going to say is, you've got two choices. You can either listen to what I say and try some of it, and you might get a benefit from it. You might start to get your head around anxiety in a better way. Or you can continue doing the same thing, which means you'll continue to feel the way you are now. So you've got two options really. You know, you've got two options really. But I recommend everyone do some research on human behaviour, personal development, anxiety, depression, how it's created. because there is a science behind it, and there is very, very simple strategies as to why those emotions are created. And if you can understand them a bit more, you can start to unravel your own thoughts and start to understand how you create them. And once I figured that out, my life changed, because I learned how I could put them right very easily. Stop doing things that you fucking hate and start doing more things that you love. That's my best advice. Like I said, you don't get anxiety for an accident. It's not created by an accident. It's created through something that's bothering you, something that's not working for you. Think of your anxiety as your alarm bell. It's your warning bell to tell you, Sam, something's not working for you. You need to change it. It's not making you feel good. It's like I said, it's your body's fight or flight response. The same centers of your brain are lighting up as when you experience fear and panic in real life, like danger. Your alarm bell's telling you something, man. Your danger bell's telling you something. You're not meant to feel like that. So you have to accept that. If you feel like that, it's your responsibility to take charge of that. Otherwise, you'll continue to feel the way you feel, which is not what you want, is it? I mean, we're going to argue all day about how it's created and who's to blame for it and this and that. But bottom line is, if you don't actually accept that I've got to take charge of this situation and do something about it, you're always going to feel the way you don't want to feel. And that's a fact. You've got two choices. Accept it and try and change it, or accept it and feel the same way. What are you going to do about it? So yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing on anxiety. And I get it. I know I've been a little bit harsh there, and I've said things that are very powerful, which I know if people take them on board, they'll be amazed at the results. But I get it that some people might not say that at this point. I get it. And I'm just going to say, like, anxiety, it's not something that, well, there's different levels of it. First of all, this is one thing I'll say before I go. I felt a little bit anxious the past couple of weeks, but I was confusing that with a little bit of excitement. When you feel anxious, a lot of the time it's because of the unknown. So maybe it's something that's happening, maybe it's an event, or like people experience it before, like doing like presentations or doing work meetings or something. That's not necessarily anxiety. It's just a little bit of excitement, a little bit of nervousness. So you have to understand your emotions and how it's being created. Sometimes you're just a little bit nervous. Sometimes you're just a little bit on edge. It's not necessarily an anxiety attack. So you just everyone feels that way. Everyone feels that way at times. So just have a little think about exactly how you feel and exactly how it's serving you. But yeah, if you do suffer with serious anxiety where it's starting to affect your life negatively, because if you do suffer with anxiety frequently, it's gonna feel some depression, because your energy's down. Like personally, when I was suffering, it used to be like a nighttime thing. So through the day I would be all right because I was distracted, because I was talking to people, because I was going to the gym, because I was around my family, because I was with my girlfriend. And all of a sudden, when I was in bed on my own, that's when my thoughts would just go, and that's when I would overthink everything. That's when I would experience the anxiety, because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't focusing on anything. I was stopping, trying to relax. And that's when these anxious thoughts were coming in, which at the time in my life, I had nothing. Didn't have a job, didn't have any savings. I was doing the wrong things to my body. I was focusing on the wrong things. I was around with the wrong people. I was a very negative person. You probably know a lot of guys have known me for years. 3-4 years ago, I'll admit, the me who I am now is a totally different person. I wasn't a nice person a few years ago because I wasn't happy with my own life. So my way of dealing with that was to be a bit of a dick, to be honest. Looking back now, and you can't lie to yourself. If you know that there's something that you're doing that's not good for you or not good for other people, or you're just not feeling it within your own life and your own creative streak and your own positivity, you're gonna have an alarm bell going off, put it that way. So you have to take charge. You have to look at a few circumstances, and I'll repeat them again before I wrap it up, because have got to get back to work. Your physiology. So where's your physiology at? What I mean by physiology, your actual energy, your state. Are you exercising? Are you eating healthy? Yeah. Are you abusing your body with stimulants? Are you putting drugs up your nose every weekend? If you are, then that's why your anxiety is potentially being caused. So cut that out. If you're not exercising, you need to improve your physiology by exercising. That's going to help deal with anxiety. Your nutrition, that's going to help deal with anxiety. Your state, what you're thinking about, your attention. Where's your attention? Are you always focusing on things that make you feel terrible? Are you always focusing on things that scare you? Are you always overthinking about thoughts that you don't want to have? Then you need to put your attention on something else. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but you literally can just distract yourself through any means necessary. Every single person has something that can distract them. I'm working with one person at this moment in time. She loves gardening. She often gardens, and every time she says she feels like she's anxious, she goes and does her garden, and it passes, because she's just literally took her attention off, oh, I'm feeling anxious, right, I need to do this. It's very powerful. It's so simple, and it's something that's often overlooked by people because it's so simple. They think, how can I pull myself out of an anxiety attack just by doing something like that? But trust me, it works. So you have to look at those things, and then look at your lifestyle as well. What things are pissing you off? What things are making you feel sad, frustrated? Because a lot of people's anxious thoughts and anxiety comes from things in their life that they're not happy about, that they just try and bury their head in the sand with. They try and forget. They try and forget about their relationship they don't like. They try and forget about the job they don't hate. They try and forget about the fact that they're on the sesh every weekend. Try and forget about the fact that they're in debt. And I know this is getting a bit deep and a bit personal, but that's the way it is. There's situations in people's lives that cause anxiety. If you bury your head in the sand and you pretend it doesn't exist, that's where your anxiety is coming from, man. So 3 things. Physiology. Where's your energy at? Where's your health at? Where's your exercise at? What are you putting in your body? Are you putting the right fuel in it? Are you taking too much stimulants? Too much coffee, too much drugs? Are you eating the right foods? Where's your attention at? Are you focusing on things that make you feel bad? Or are you focusing on the things that make you feel inspired? The best way to fight negative feelings is to fight it with fire, and that comes from positive, that comes from confidence, that comes from things that inspire you. You can't be anxious, right, and dropping body fat and making yourself feel confident at the same time. See how you can create different feelings, see how you can fight one with the other. And that comes from you. That comes from you. You have to take charge. So fight fire with fire. If you're feeling negative, you're feeling anxious, it's your alarm bell telling you something's not working for you. You feel like this because something's not working. You need to change. Now, I don't know what that may be. You have to ask yourself those powerful questions within your life, But I hope that's cleared a few things up with anxiety. If anyone is struggling with anxiety, wants to know more about certain things, wants to get on the phone with me, I can do that, because like I said, I was crippled with anxiety to where it was ruining my life, and I solved it over a few month period through asking myself some very, very powerful questions. And I've done a lot for people who I'm currently working with. There's a lot of people in this group actually who have reached out to me, and now they are fine. They are dealing with it. And this is the thing, it's always going to happen. You're always going to have anxious thoughts. It happens, but if you know how they are being created and you know the strategy behind it, at least you know where it's coming from. I think that's the thing with anxiety that scares a lot of people. They don't know where it's coming from. And if you don't know where it's coming from, yes, of course you're anxious, and of course you can't think about anything else. But once you figure out how it's created, where it's coming from, and what you can do to change that, game changer, So I'll repost this video once I'm done. I'm going to get back to work. I hope you's all understood a few things there. Maybe ask yourself a few powerful questions. I'll just repeat one more time before I go. Your physiology. Where's your physiology at? Your health, your fitness, your nutrition, what you're putting in your body. Are you overweight or not? Are you, underweight? I don't know. Your physiology's got to be on point. If it's not, do something about it. I guarantee your anxious thoughts come down. Your attention, where are you focusing on? Are you focusing on all the things you don't like? Are you focusing on the things that make you feel bad? Or are you focusing on things that inspire you? Do you have a purpose? When you don't have a purpose, you start to feel anxious. When you get up every day and go, for fuck's sake, I can't be arsed with this, you're going to create anxious feelings. If you get up every day and go, right, I need to do this, I need to do that, and I'm going to focus on that, you're not going to be anxious. You're focused on something that inspires you. Massive. That is literally the key, that one. And then also your alarm bell. If it's going off, your anxiety's going off, what is it in your life that's causing you to feel that way? There's something that you need to change. I can't tell you what that is, but there is something. For me, it was a whole lifestyle change in the perspective of the way I was viewing the world. I had to change that because it wasn't making us feel good. I had to change who I was as a person from a perspective standpoint, and that lowered my anxiety because now I was doing something that fulfilled me. Is there something that if you go to work every day and you hate your job, I can't even imagine how that must make people feel. If you're in a relationship every day that you hate, if you've got something in your life that you don't like the way you look, they don't like the way you feel, you're in debt, I don't know, there's loads of things, lifestyle factors. So have a look at that. So your state and your physiology, what you're focusing on, and lifestyle factors, because you don't just create anxiety by an accident. It's happening through a reason. You might not know that reason at this moment in time, but once you put your finger on it and remove that, you'll not have anxiety anymore. You'll be able to manage it. So a few powerful things I mentioned there. Like I said, anxiety is not an accident, it's created. You might not know what it is at this point, and I really do feel for you if you're not so sure. And if you want to reach out to me and maybe go over that, I guarantee you I can help you at least come up with a strategy how we can manage it. But yes, I'm going to get back to work because we had a crazy weekend with a closing down sale. So I've got to go. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Reach out to me if you need me. I hope you enjoyed today, and I'll speak to you next time.